Oh, shalom, RasTafari. Wanted to point out this particular movie right here, One Night, right? One Night with the King, right? One Night with the King. We seen this a couple of years ago, and it's a very interesting movie. Like a lot of the movies about the Bible, usually they are predominantly whitewashed movies. So we have to, in grace, get past that and really look at least what story are they being faithful, or how faithful are they being with the story. And this movie is particularly interesting. It's a more faithful interpretation or rendition, or at least according to the basics of the story that we find in the Megillah, or in the scroll of Esther, right? Or Esther, right? Or the Metzhaf Esther, the book of Esther. Now, as we pointed out already, there's a significance to this book of Esther, and a significance to this present time right here, March 4th, right? Or 3rd and 4th, 2015, is the holiday, what's known as the Jewish holiday, but we want to put it into its more correct context, because the context is very important. It's the Black Jewish, right, holiday of Purim. Right? Purim, a Black Jewish holiday? Well, yes, it is, because those people were Ethiopian Hebrews, and it's very clear, right? If you study the book of Esther, right? And if you also study the history and our story that's connected with Esther, not just then, but also right now. And this is also I wouldn't say a woman story, but it is a story of a righteous black sister, a righteous black daughter of Israel. So this is a very also important story for a lot of the sisters, mothers, daughters, and wives that have been made to believe, right, that the Bible in some way is a so-called sexist book, right? And they might have gone to church and been part of the so-called Negro church. But this book, this story has not really been brought out, even though some sound bites, you might have heard some sound bites from this particular book, but it hasn't been put in its proper or its right, moreover, its righteous context. Right. Whoa. So let's get it right and exact, right? So the significance of the book of Esther is that it testifies to the secret watch care, right? The secret watch care, right? That Yod-Heh-Wah-Heh Yahweh has, right? Over the dispersed of Black Israel, the dispersed of the lost sheep of the house of Israel, the lost and the found sheep of the house of Israel, right? Now, the name of God, of Elohim, right, or any of the names of Elohim are not found, right, or does not occur once in this particular book overtly. You know what I mean? So we don't find the name of Yod-Heh-Wah-Heh overtly in this particular book. But, however, on the other hand, there is in no other book something found in this book, right? And in no other book of the Bible is Yahweh's, is Adonai Jah, right? Adonai's eye, right? His eye, his providence, his true, the true Selassie eye, or the eye of providence, more conspicuous, right? More conspicuous. In other words, his watchful eye. As there's a scripture that speaks about, I think, a song, actually. I'm not too sure if it's actually a scripture. In fact, I got to look this up, but many of you have heard about how he has his eye, right? You know, his eye is upon the sparrow, you know, and the sparrow's like a very small bird, you know. He keeps his eye, how his eye watches over even the sparrow, right? So that providential care, right? So Jah sees, and he knows, he sees these conspiracies, right, to kill the lost black sheep before they can grow, before they can find themselves. These genocidal plots, right, against the lost sheep of the house of Israel, right? So his care, right, his secret watch care, right, the secret watch care of Yahweh, right, of Jah, of Adonai, is over the dispersed of Israel. Though the name of Elohim, right, does not once occur in this particular book, there's no other book of the Bible, right, that we find his providence and the eye of his providence more conspicuous. A note here that we made from earlier that we want to make in this particular vid, do a couple of vids for Purim to, remind ones and hopefully, prompt some of y'all to check it out, check it out a little bit for yourself. Check out this particular movie, read through it, just get a basic overview. And what's so very interesting is that this book really links with Ethiopia from the very first verse, right? Because it says, now it came to pass in the days of Ahasuerus, right? Or some call him Xerxes, right? Which is Ahasuerus, right? Which he reigned from India or Hindia, right? The Hindus Kush, right? Even to Ethiopia, right? So we're speaking about a very important part of, history, right? Of our story that we are not told, or that's not told to we. So it says over 120 provinces, right? So in this very time, right, a mere remnant, right? During this time, a mere remnant had returned. There was only a remnant, right, of the lost sheep of the house of Israel that had returned, right? That had returned from the so-called, Babylonian exile. Once again, I want to put this right here because I want them to check this, check this out for yourself. This particular movie right here, right? One Night with the King, right? So a mere remnant had returned to Jerusalem. Like we find only a mere remnant had returned to Shashemeni, right? But the mass of the nation, right, preferred the easy breezy, the lucrative, the filthy lucrative life that was under the Persian rule, right? Just like many prefer, while Zion's gates are wide open, right? Many still prefer what they think is easy and lucrative in the sense of the filthy lucre of this spiritual Babylon, right? Of this spiritual Babylonian rule, right? But Jah does not forsake I and I, right? What he here does for Judah, right? What he does for Judah, I want you to keep that in mind, Judah, and the link with the Lion of the tribe of Judah. What he does for Judah, he is surely doing for his covenant people, for the people who are in the covenant, right? Even the new covenant. I want to share with you this one right here. This is, give thanks to the brothers, right? To those who did this one right here, right? Let's, bring this over. Here we go right here. This is a little LOL, a little meme that was put out. And here we have, Gamal Abdel Nasser. I think he was the second president of modern, Egypt. And he had stated on the record that when the Jews left, they were black. Do you see that? When the Jews left, when they left that particular region of the world, when the Judahites left, the Judeans left, they were black. Now they come back and they're white. He said, this is the reason why, there's so much stress and strife in that region of the world and all this phony, holy moly talk. So we put, His Majesty's, LOL, LOL there, the LOJ's LOL, laughing out loud. Because that will explain a little bit more of something that had came up towards the end of our Testify Tuesday from March 3rd. So you can hear on Blog Talk Radio and also on the Testify Tuesday, the rebroadcast on Discipleship Radio on the YouTubes. You can hear more of that. I think it's towards the end of the second part. Right? The second part of that. Give thanks, Wyndham Johannes, Brother John, thank you very much for bringing that forward. And we were speaking on this right here, and let's just, here we go right here. Here we go right here. All right. The two Zions, all right? The two Zions, reminiscences of Jerusalem and Ethiopia. Right now, this book right here, you can see it is by Edward Uhlendorf, right? Edward Uhlendorf, right? And it can explain a little bit more about Ethiopia and the King of Kings' position about the state of Israel and the black Jews. And that's a discussion that is long overdue for I and I. And the problem with that particular matter about the state of Israel is that this half of the story concerning the King of Kings, LOJSociety, has not been known. And moreover, from even the Christian, the Negro, black church and all of that, ones have been reading the Bible, but haven't been putting the story in its true context, right? And Queen Esther, our black Jewish queen, and her deliverance of, through the power of the Almighty, the deliverance of the black Jews in Persia from genocide, I think is a timely story for us right now, and an encouragement to the once lost but now found black sheep of the house of Israel. So check out, if you can, check out the movie One Night with the King. As an overview, I would recommend watch that movie if you can first. You know what I mean? Read through the book, or read through the book and watch the movie. Either way, compare one with the other. All right? Shalom, RasTafari. This is your brother, Yadin. Shalom.